Okay, this is going to be a quick reboot of my first map. I've already started the map. If you need help with this, getting it going, see me. Um, this is really for people who are new to the class or are absent or who just need a refresher. So here's a blank map, and it already has a default map frame established, but it needs to be renamed, and there's some other house cleaning we're going to do here. So we go to catalog, pull down the arrow, and then right click on map, and that map needs to be renamed. So let's call that one states, because we made a states map. And then we also made a counties map. So let's open up a new map. You notice it's popped up to the right of the states map. Open up catalog, right click on map, rename counties. And then we made one more. New map. And open up catalog again. And right click on rename. And let's call this one the Fairfax block groups. Okay, so we can collapse maps now. And we need also to establish our data connections. So on folder here, you'll notice that the only thing we have is the My First Map. When we start the project, we had to create a folder for our work called My First Map. And you'll see that it automatically puts the data in there as we work. So add a folder connection, click on the C drive, click on open up ArcGIS Pro or ArcGIS 2016, click once on USA, click OK, and then open up catalog again over here and open up the USA, and you can see we have all of this data. Okay, so since this says Fairfax County block groups and we're going to start working with the states map, we need to click on states. So we click on the states map and you'll see that it's now states here. Okay. So let's add this data, and right now, although it says states, this map does not know what it's actually going to make. If we go into properties here, and we clicked on coordinate system, which is something we're going to learn about soon, it's in this thing called the Web Mercator auxiliary sphere, which is actually a projection. It's not really a projection; it's a globe, and it's actually one that was invented by Google. For Google Earth. So this is a default, and I'm not sure why they default to this other than I think so much mapping is going on the internet right away instead of in paper that it's just defaulting to this industry standard auxiliary sphere. Nothing really special about it. Google got there first, the rest of the industry had to follow. Alright, so this is okay, but it's not what we're going to work with. So what we're going to go over here to census, and I wanted you to bring in the states. Right click states, add the current map, and then using the explore tool, just pan it over. We don't care about Alaska. Well, we do, but we don't care about it for this project. I don't like this color, so click on that blue color and let's go to properties, click on that blue box, and I'm just going to change it to like an orange so that I can see the lines, and also when our selecting shows up better. Alright, so we don't want whole Alaska. Now here's a problem that I've noticed through this software. I couldn't select earlier. I couldn't figure out why. I drag a box around this and nothing happened. It turned out that this setting right here where it says create new selection, it was defaulting for some reason to remove from current selection, and nothing was happening because I hadn't had anything selected, so it didn't have anything to remove, so it just seemed like it was not working. But if you have it correctly set up, it will say create new selection. All right, so click on this box here, this pull down, and take the rectangle tool and drag it around the United States. And you should see it get selected. Now over here, click on states, right click on states, go to data, and export to features. And it should say states when it pops up over here. And then down here it says states copy. I don't like that name, so we're going to click on browse. Notice that it goes to our My First Map folder that we created. Oh, you'll see some others that I made earlier in here because I may have had an error. So I'm just going to copy them over. So here we are. I'm going to type in, you don't have this yet, but that's okay. And my lower 48, save it, yes. I'm going to overwrite it, and then I'm going to run it. Okay, and now I don't need the states anymore. Okay, and now we just have the lower 48, that's it. So right click on lower 48 and choose zoom to layer. And that's great, it's now on the whole screen using all the resources, all the real estate. So problem with this map, and you probably noticed it, is it looks a little bit stretched. It's because it's not projected. This is geographic data, it's as if it's on a sphere, and you can't really tell that that's what it looks like, but you probably notice it doesn't look familiar. And so we're going to turn it into a map projection that you probably have seen before. It's commonly used with weather maps. So on states over here, right click and go to properties. Click, if it's up here on general, click it onto coordinate systems. It's in WGAS 84, it means Geographic Coordinate System, World Geographic System 1984. This is one based on it was invented for GIS. Invented for GPS. But it's a geographic one, and we want to change it to a projected one. So we're going to go projected coordinate system. Then we have to drag this menu down. And since the United States is pretty much a continent almost, we're going to use a North American continental model. And we're going to use the one called the NAD83 Contiguous USA Albers. Contiguous USA means the lower 48. So we hit that and hit OK. And I bet that looks a bit more familiar. Okay, so we've taken care of projection. Now we're going to symbolize this. So you're going to right click on the lower 48. And I'm going to use Hawaiian Pacific Islander, but you're going to use something else. You'll see you have a lot of choice. So you're going to go to Symbology, and we're going to change this from single symbol to graduated colors. And we're going to change population. This is just wherever, this just tells you there's a lot of people in New York and Florida, Texas. Of course there's a lot of people living there because they're pretty big states. They're coastal states, and so, or near New York's is near a big city, important city. But coastal areas tend to attract a lot of people. And big states can hold a lot of people, but you're going to pick like white, black, multi-race, ages 5 to 9, or whatever you want to use. There's a lot to explore here. Like families, number of families, vacant houses, renters versus owners. Okay, and I chose Pacific Islander, and yet it's still not done. This map looks somewhat sensical because Hawaii is close to the west coast, so we were not too surprised to see that there are many of them living in this part of the country. But how concentrated are they? This doesn't tell you that. This is just total counts, okay? Total numbers. And if we change this normalization to have it divide by the population of the state, it changes things a bit. It actually shows the concentration of Pacific Islanders is a bit more concentrated than we thought, where everywhere, and beyond California, there's a greater concentration in these states. And Arkansas stands out, surprisingly. Okay, so that's finished. We now see a normalized population distribution for Hawaiian Pacific Islanders for the United States. Let's bring in another source of data. let's bring in the cities. Now be careful here, there's two, and we have cities regular here and cities detail. The cities detail's got way more cities than we need, so we're just going to bring in these major cities, add them to the current map, and then we're going to whittle this down even more by trying another selection technique I haven't shown you yet. So let's go to select by attribute, and for cities, new selection, make sure that it says new selection in the first box there, or in the selection type, and we're going to add a clause, and we're going to change this to population 2015 is greater than or equal to 50,000. And then hit the add button to submit that query or that clause, and then run it. And you should see blue dots get highlighted on your map. Those are just the cities that are 50,000 or more. So we right click on cities, go to data, export the features. We want to export the cities, but this isn't what we want to call them. So let's click this little folder over here to go back to our My First Map folder, and we're going to put in cities over 50K. Now mine's going to probably ask me if I want to replace it again. Did I do that right? Yes. Cities over 50K, run. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to take away the cities layer now. And what's left are the cities over 50K. All right. Now do the same thing you did before for Symbology. Go to Symbology again. Oops, we have to select the layer. Select, then that's something good to learn. Make sure you have a layer selected when you choose Symbology. So we have single symbol for the dot. We're going to change that instead using proportional symbols. We could use graduated symbols, but I'll go ahead and use proportional symbols. That's a bit large. I think I'm going to change that. I don't like the way that looks. Are the classes? Yeah, I don't like that histogram, so I'm going to go instead change proportional symbols. It was fun to look at that, but that's a little crazy. Let's go to graduated symbols instead. Okay, the yellow's not good, so let's change that. You click on that yellow dot, and it brings you, sometimes it brings you to the gallery, and it will sometimes bring you to properties. Depends on what you use last. And go to the yellow box and change that to some other color. I like to use something that's not in the background, so it's easy to see. And so there we go. And let's look at that symbology a little more carefully. What did I symbolize here? Go back here. Okay. This is my settings at this point. Population class is not what I want. I want this to be Hawaiian Pacific Islander, and I want it to be divided by the total population to see which city has a high concentration of Hawaiian Pacific Islanders. And you can do the same thing for whatever you selected. And this is interesting because it looks like one of the highest concentrations is not on the western seaboard. It's in Arkansas.